A freight train at 50 miles per hour carries 25 times the kinetic energy of one at 10 miles per hour. Now imagine that train is inside you and it's accelerating. We humans have blind spots, not just the biological kind, but the emotional blind spots that make it easy for us to cruise through our busy days, assuming everything is fine because no alarm bells are ringing. We move along on autopilot, unaware that an inner momentum is building. Then the symptoms finally arrive, not gradually, but like a freight train roaring out of the fog. Pre-diabetes, fatty liver, blood work with numbers your doctor calls borderline, which is medical speak for heading toward a cliff. Picture it this way. A massive freight train is barreling within your body, loaded with one of two things, either vital nutrients or toxins and unwanted crud. The direction and speed of that train is determined by the compounding choices you make each and every day. And the 25 times difference between 10 and 50 miles per hour, that's the difference between a metabolic state that you can proactively redirect and one that becomes nearly impossible to stop. Welcome to Sherpa Trek. What I'm about to share with you could fundamentally change how you value your health, and more importantly, give you the framework to act on it before the metabolic train becomes unstoppable. You might be at the peak of your career right now, tops at your profession, financially secure, feeling pretty good about where you are in life. But what if I told you that you might actually be perched atop a pseudo peak? Picture an iceberg with the tip poking above the water. That's your body on the outside, seemingly healthy, functioning, getting through each day. But lurking beneath the surface is a massive metabolic mess, silently growing and quietly undermining the foundational biological building blocks that ultimately determine good or bad health outcomes. What's hiding underneath? Mitochondria, those cellular power plants that should be running at full capacity but are instead sputtering along, gasping for oxygen. Simply stated, they become gunked up, adversely affected by reduced oxidative phosphorylation and an impaired electron transport chain. Add to that damaged helixes through oxidative stress and inflammation. We're talking about damage to your very DNA and a desperate need for extensive autophagy and mitophagy. Autophagy and mitophagy, your cellular cleanup crews that recycle damaged components and take out the mitochondrial trash, they aren't functioning properly. Cellular garbage piles up with no garbage collector in sight, and things slowly but surely start sliding down the slippery metabolic slope. Here's the critical insight. This problem didn't get created overnight. It took years, typically decades of compounding damage. And resolving it, that takes deliberate, focused effort. But it is possible. Just a couple of months typically shows some early, often dramatic turnaround results. But you must realistically figure on a 2 to 3 year metabolic action plan to fully resolve all the hidden metabolic mess. Ultimately, metabolic transformation requires a lifestyle change. And when I say fully resolve, I don't mean absolutely resolve. There's no need to obsess over what you coulda, shoulda, woulda done in the past. Redirect your focus on what you can do right now to start turning things around and keeping them on track moving forward. Now let's talk about the key driver behind all this metabolic mayhem: insulin resistance. Think of insulin resistance as a ghostly freight train barreling within you. You can't see it coming or going. You can't even hear it. But it's gaining speed and massive momentum with each and every poor metabolic choice you unwittingly make. Insulin is a hormone whose multifaceted role accounts for many metabolic effects. A primary role of insulin is to shuttle glucose, blood sugar, into your fat cells to be stored for energy against an unrelenting winter or a prolonged drought when food is scarce. But when you constantly flood your system with glucose, your cells start becoming resistant to insulin's strident signal. It's like walking into a room filled with loud music. At first, the noise is deafening, but after a while, you become acclimated to it and become desensitized to the loudness. Your cells do the same thing with insulin. So your body pumps out even more insulin to get the same job done. until things suddenly turn ugly. You finally hear a deafening roar. It's as if you're approaching the precipice of Niagara Falls. The consequences are severe. Increased fat storage, especially ectopic fat, which is fat in organs where it doesn't belong, like the liver and pancreas, as well as the accumulation of dangerous visceral fat surrounding your organs. And inflammation rages uncontrolled even as you experience dysfunctional hunger signals that make you crave more of the same foods that are causing the problem. At the cellular level, accelerated aging has been going on for years, and it's only getting worse. This isn't a minor issue. Insulin resistance is often the upstream driver, or at the very least, a major contributor to chronic metabolic disease. Now, some of you watching this may be in for an unpleasant surprise. You might already be in what I call TOFI territory and don't even know it. TOFI stands for thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And you can look perfectly normal, have a normal BMI. You can fit into your clothes just fine and look fine to others. But internally, your organs are being riddled with fat. And not just any fat, because visceral and ectopic fats secrete inflammatory proteins called cytokines that drive metabolic disease. And your blood vessels may be silently accumulating plaque. Not only that, your liver is continually storing fat that shouldn't be there. And your pancreas, it's valiantly producing ever more insulin in an effort to keep your blood sugar under control until it can no longer do so, and your doctor then informs you that you are pre-diabetic or outright diabetic, and most likely hypertensive, have high blood pressure as well. Imagine my own surprise when I learned I was in TOFI territory with a normal BMI of 25. A couple of my metabolic markers, blood pressure of 177/95 and a fasting glucose of 111, were signaling a completely different story. This underscores why BMI is such a flawed metric for metabolic health. It tells you absolutely nothing about body composition, nothing about visceral fat, nothing about what's actually happening inside your body at the cellular level. If you're carrying extra weight around your midsection, even a little, if you're tired after meals, if you crave sweets, if your triglycerides are elevated, you just might be in TOFI territory. So what do we do about it? It's well established that insulin resistance is the primary driver of metabolic derangement. The scientific data clearly supports this. The fundamentals come down to what and when you eat, how you move, how you manage stress, how you sleep, and what toxins you're exposed to. Each one is a switch on the track, a lever you can pull to redirect your runaway locomotive onto an uphill grade. And by rapidly diminishing your momentum, you put yourself back in control and reshape your metabolic trajectory. Not understanding and applying these fundamental insights leads to all kinds of modern ailments that were unheard of just a few decades ago. The massive increase in type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and metabolic syndrome. Research now suggests insulin resistance in the brain may contribute to Alzheimer's progression. In fact, it's often referred to as type 3 diabetes. These are all lifestyle-driven conditions that have become commonplace, driven by the blind spots that shape our habitual daily choices. Now, I need to talk about something I call the metabolic event horizon. Stated simply, you don't want to go there. In physics, the event horizon of a black hole is the point of no return. Cross it and escape becomes impossible. The metabolic event horizon is similar. It's that point where your metabolic dysfunction has progressed so far that reversal becomes extremely difficult and in some cases may no longer even be possible. It's the hidden abode of the big C's, cancer and cardiac events, which are largely driven by chronic inflammation caused by years of unbridled metabolic mayhem. And it appears that it may also be the hidden abode of the big D, dementia. The good news is that many metabolic conditions can be improved even at advanced stages, although reversal certainly becomes more difficult more time consuming, and more expensive. Which brings me to perhaps the most important concept in the entire video: your right to repair. You have the right to repair your dysfunctional metabolism long before reaching the metabolic event horizon. This isn't just about avoiding disease, it's about optimizing your health span so those years of your life are vibrant, you're fully capable, and independent. It's actually more than a right, it's an imperative. You must take the reins to ensure your own health and vitality. And here's why you can't afford to wait for the medical system to save you. The current standard of care for chronic disease is laser focused on symptom management, not root cause resolution. Your blood pressure is high, here's a pill. Your blood sugar is creeping up, double the dose, or add another pill. Your cholesterol is elevated, here's yet another pill. Yet none of these address why these markers are abnormal in the first place. They simply suppress the symptoms while the underlying disease process continues silently advancing. This approach sets you up for a life robbed of vitality. You are born to have a health span that is very close to your natural lifespan. Hobbling around mentally and or physically for the last decade of your life is totally unnatural, and it's completely unnecessary for those who take decisive action. Beyond that, and this is something most people aren't seeing, is about ensuring your progeny, your children and grandchildren, are awarded with the kind of beneficial inheritance that you fully intend to provide them. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about the epigenetic inheritance that your right actions will propagate to all who follow your example. The metabolic patterns you establish in your life can't magically change your genetic makeup, but those good habits can alter genetic expression, epigenetics, which genes get turned on, the good ones, and which genes get suppressed, the bad ones, and thereby shape the path for generations to come in ways you simply can't imagine. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family. It's the imperative that will shape your and their future. So that's the engineering approach to root cause analysis applied to metabolic health. Identify the root problems. Look for the root cause, the source. Understand the mechanisms and take decisive action to turn around the metabolic mayhem before it derails your ability to enjoy life to the fullest. The freight train within you is gaining speed, but you can leverage physics in your favor by quickly switching to a different track that leads uphill to rapidly diminish the momentum of the metabolic mayhem built up over the years. You can redirect the massive momentum. The question is whether you will make the decision to switch right now, or wait until you see the track that you should have taken in your rearview mirror when it's too late to make any course correction. As mentioned, this isn't just about your health, it's the health you pass down. In my case, I was able to make a dramatic course correction of my own metabolic mayhem, discovered in early 2025. Within 2 months, I'd reversed my high blood pressure and shed 25 pounds. And since then, I've continued regular exercise and intermittent fasting to build on the early success and ensure long-term metabolic transformation. Be aware these rapid changes might impact your existing medication regimen in a way that can potentially be dangerous, so be sure to seek medical supervision before you proceed. In my case, I had to carefully ditch my high blood pressure medication to avoid becoming hypotensive. By the end of 2025, my average blood pressure reading was 106/78, and it's virtually unchanged since then. All of this was made possible because I had the good fortune of discovering a physician who created a few educational YouTube videos on understanding and dealing with metabolic dysfunction. In my next video, I'll get into the specifics of that and how this relates to your metabolic trek. I'll show you how I apply a few simple rules to ensure my own metabolic transformation through lifestyle, what I call guerrilla keto. Remember, you have the right to repair. It's imperative for you to exercise that right. And the right time to do so is now, right now. Well, that's a wrap. Till next time, stay upward bound and keep on trekking.